Hello, friends. How are you? So I created a quick Instagram video yesterday about a couple of concepts that I think people are forgetting about Grant Cardone. I see a lot of folks kind of attacking him for being quite, who he is, right? The flashy guy with the private jet and the Rolls Royce and all those blingy blingy things. But I think it's important never to forget where he started. So yesterday in an Instagram video, I put a couple of things together. And if you're not following me on Instagram, guess what? It's one rental at a time. Everything I do is one rental at a time. That's my Instagram, I guess, name or handle, or I'm not sure what you all call it. But anyways, that's who I am out there. And I got a pretty decent reply, right? Thumbs up and, fist bumps and all that stuff. So I actually went ahead and created kind of a top 10 thing because I think it's important to understand it. And it's, some of you might think it's kind of funny because, frankly, Grant Cardone, if he ever spoke with me, would I don't know, he would call me somewhere between an idiot and thinking small, right? Because I talk about owning one rental at a time, and he's on record as saying, bigger is better, and if you're not looking at 100 units or above, you're an idiot, and all of those things. We're not going to have that conversation because I think that's that's a discussion for another day. But I do think it's important to understand and step back that we all have origin stories. We all start somewhere. And I don't think Grant Cardone's any different. I think, sometimes we need to step back and appreciate where others come from. We see where they are today and we pass judgment. And I don't think that's fair, right? You see him today sitting on the wings of his private jet or in his Rolls Royce looking at that silly skylight or whatever that thing is called, the stars on the roof or whatever. And you pass judgment, and maybe you've only caught on to him recently, and you think that's who he's ever been. So I've listened to him for a while. I listened to him for a lot, kind of 2 years ago, kind of fell off, and just recently kind of came back. And I think a lot of people are not appreciating where he came from. So I did a quick top 10 list. Two of these will be repeats from yesterday if you happen to see that Instagram post. But let's go ahead and get started. And please, if you think there's other things I've missed, leave a comment and let me know. So let's see if this share works. Look at that. I think it's working. All right, let's go here. All right, so what I think of the top 10, and let me see if I can move this window because I think it might be in the way. There we go. Okay, so here we go. So 10 things that I think people forget about Grant Cardone. The first one is actually what I started the Instagram video with yesterday, and it's the reality that he spent 3 years doing what I call homework, right? If I remember the story correctly, he was in San Diego, California, and he spent 3 years talking to brokers, looking at deals, doing homework. And he did that because he realized that most of the stuff out there were not deals. And he also realized that he didn't know anything, right? He's on record as saying he did that to learn and get his hands dirty and get active. And I think it's wildly impressive that he did that for 3 years. I mean, how many of us have spent 3 weekends, right? So I've spoken with investors who go, I've decided to do it and I'm going to go forward. So, let's appreciate that. Next is he did not quit his day job when he was starting out, right? I think he was selling cars at the time. Maybe he was selling courses on how to be a car salesman. I don't know where he was in his life, but it's very, very clear listening to his story that he was hustling during the day and doing real estate on the weekends. And I think too many of us see what he's doing today and think he's always been this real estate baron and that's all he's ever done and all of that. No, he had a full-time job. And he was cranking and crushing it and saving and doing all those things. And real estate was his side hustle in the beginning. And I think we all need to appreciate that. This is a big one. This was number 2 in my Instagram video yesterday. And that is that he lived below his means. We see him today on the private jets and the cars and the talking of monies and, watches and all that nonsense. And, that he's doing that because it attracts a certain ilk. But let's not forget where he started, right? I mean, he'll tell stories about being a car salesman and getting excited about selling a Toyota Corolla or a Camry or something. And he did that. He was excited because he made $200. And it wasn't the $200. It was the fact that he would live on 60 and bank 140. So the man was living below his means. The man that you see on a private jet and, with all these ridiculously expensive watches and cars was living below his means so he could save, invest, repeat. We need to remember where he started, people. You don't get to the private jet by spending gobs of money all the time, right? Live below your means, play good defense, invest, and continue. This is a quote I've heard him say many times. It's ranged between 95 and 98% regardless, is that most of the deals out there are junk, which means bad deals. And he's saying that a lot here recently because, lots of people are chasing apartments. And, he at his, experience level or cachet of his name, I don't know this for sure, but I'd be willing to bet he's already getting the best interest rates, the best terms. And if he can't make deals work with what he has, I think it's interesting that there are so many people posting that they just locked up this or that apartment building. And some of them are doing great. Don't get me wrong. I just think that it's unwise to think that apartments that are priced for perfection are always good deals. And, I don't know if it's 95%. Shoot, if it's 75% of the deals out there are junk, that's still a lot of people buying deals that aren't very good. The other one, it's needs to be appreciated. And we all see Grant doing this, and maybe it's Elena doing that these days, but they are not one-person shows, right? They have companies and team members that are helping them. Whether it's the nearly 200 people they have today, or you go back to when he was starting in San Diego, he was building networks of relationships and brokers and helpers and money guys and all these things. We see him and think he does everything magically himself, and he's always done it that way. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Trust me, real estate investing is a people business. He has always known that, and he's always going after that. He does believe in promote, as you'll see in a minute. But that's another story. The other one is he lived modestly for years, right? It's hard to believe the guy with the private jet, the guy with the Rolls Royce and all these other tricks and cars and toys and watches that we see today spending gobs of money, is he lived very modestly for a long time. He lived so modestly that, for years that he flew coach for 3 million miles. And as someone who's done nearly 1 million miles, I can tell you that sucks. So he was always conservative and living modesty and living below his means until recently. And I would argue that he's probably still living below his means. Just his means today are just ridiculously high and, something that you and I can't comprehend. So good for them. He's invested his own money in his own deals first, right? Those first 3 deals he talked about in San Diego was his money, and he got there because, again, he lived below his means. He saved his, Toyota Corolla sales money and selling courses and hustling during the week. And he still continues to invest in his own deals. If you listen to Grant Cardone, whatever, YouTube channel, he talks about deals that he's investing in still, right? So, it's impressive to realize that he is putting his money where his mouth is. The other one I think is interesting is, if you believe the story, his wife gave him the goal of being a billionaire, right? He was content, happy with being worth, 9 figures or whatever it is. And I don't know if he was really ready to slow down. I just can't see him doing that. But it was his wife that gave him the $1 billion goal, honey. Basically you got to do this. You owe it to yourself. You owe helping people. It's a sign of how many people you can help and all that good stuff. But you've got to realize that even sometimes it takes others to give you big, hairy, scary goals. And to the credit of his wife, she gave him the $1 billion target, which they're going after in a big way. The other one that we can't miss is he talks about the last downturn in 2008 really hurting his business, and having a private conversation with his wife and not knowing what to do, and then going off in his room. And I think that's where he wrote 10X and really started to turn around and take ownership of where he was at. And you just need to realize that downturns happen, downturns hurt, and you can get through them. And if someone like Grant can be open and honest about what happened last time, it's nice to see what you can do going forward. And then lastly, I would be remiss if we didn't understand why we see Grant Cardone doing all this flash. He's on record again as saying that his company's top 3 goals or missions or whatever they are, rules, are promote, promote, promote. So that's why you see him all the time with the bling and the blang and all this stuff. It's just what he does, right? He believes that you can't attract deals, you can't control your network unless people know you. So he does that by being a machine and being certainly in the top 5 social media people on the planet. And he deserves our respect for that. We all can pass our own judgments, but we got to respect the hustle and what he's doing. So at the end of the day, there's probably another 10 things that people need to realize, or that people forget when they see him or get introduced to him today, is he started off very modest. He started off on his own accord. And, he deserves at least some form of respect for how he has built what he's done to where he is going. So at the end of the day, just wanted to leave this here and thank you. And as always, please subscribe, leave